Compare Episode 1, Genesis 1, 1 through 31.
The Book of Genesis, Chapter 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Okay, so the very first verse, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. There was a beginning point. That is referred to as the Big Bang. So most of you are pretty familiar with this. So basically this is the first time light was brought into the universe, is when the universe was created itself. And we know this as the Big Bang.
And the earth was without form and void.
So this next part's really interesting. The earth was without form and void. So this is a couple time periods that we understand what this was taking place. But one of the major ones is when the moon crashed, or there was an object about the size of Mars that crashed into the earth and then caused the planet to superheat, and would have been basically all lava. Now, there are other states of the planet's creation where it was all lava and had no void. Right? Now, this is the part that's really interesting. So there is the core formation. There's the giant impact. So then there's a time period of accretion. So all three of these events are taking place in different time periods. But my point is the Bible specifically says what the earth was originally like. No other book, nothing out there, and nobody knew this or said this or even believed this. This is the only ancient writings that had the correct understanding of how planetary systems are put together.
And darkness was upon the face of the deep.
So at what point were the oceans? So it says, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved over the face of the waters. So think about this for a second. So we know that a planetary object hit Earth, right? At some point it would have started to cool. We know that water obviously was eventually on the planet. But what most people don't understand is why the Earth was cooling. When the oceans were there would have been a giant cloud, just like when the dinosaurs died out, when we had the mass extinction from the asteroid hitting the planet. It was estimated between 2 to 15 years that the entire sunlight was blocked out by this cloud. Now imagine something the size of Mars hitting us, how long that would take. So the oceans would have been dark because the sky, the atmosphere, was blocked out with dust from particles from the collision. So the oceans would have been what? Dark. Yeah, that really shocked me. I never thought about it.
And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters.
Now here's another interesting thing. And the Spirit of God was moving over the face of the waters. What does that mean? So the Spirit of God is creation. Where did the first organisms created on planet Earth? In the oceans. Yeah, so it's talking about first single cell life forms. Is that not crazy? So the process of chemosynthesis is what this thing is referring to. So these are deep sea hydroplanes that are in the ocean that the original life forms would have survived off of because of the energy coming from the earth and the minerals there with no sunlight. Yeah, so these underwater thermal vents are what we're talking about. And we've seen organisms there that are the oldest on the planet when we investigate these things. And this is right now, currently, the scientific theory is that the original life forms, complex life forms, would have originally started on one of these hydrothermal vents.
And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light.
So remember the Big Bang, there was light. There is actually a point in the universe referred to as the cosmic dark ages, okay, where there was no light after the Big Bang. After that, there is a point when stars and stuff are being formed, and it's called the cosmic dawn. That is when light is actually entering the universe. So there is a high state of high concentrated plasma from originally in the Dark Ages, and there was no light. That is literally what the Bible says, and that is literally the scientific understanding right now. Cosmic dawn beginning somewhere between 100 million years and 400 million years after the Big Bang, gravity caused pockets of gases to collapse, ignite, forming the first stars. The event known as the cosmic dawn ended the Dark Ages. Let there be light.
And God saw the light that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament.
So this is referring to the Earth's atmosphere. I'm pretty sure most people on this channel know what the atmosphere is, so I'm not going to go too into this, but I mean, that's exactly what he's talking about. What is the atmosphere? It's gases. Water is what state? It can be frozen, it can be solid, it can be liquid.
And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth.
So this is referring to the Ordovician period, which is 470 million years ago when plants and mosses first started appearing in plant life as we know it.
And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, an herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And God said, Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind.
Okay, so when it's talking about kind, it's talking about biological evolution, and it's called genetic drift. So I want to talk a little bit about this because it's something that I do. So I experiment with genetic drift, and I'll show you an example of what I'm talking about. So the image on the top is something referred to as a mosquito eater. It's a fish that is commonly used to control mosquitoes. It's a wild fish that goes in ponds. It's very hardy, very, very strong. It can survive heavy heat and cold. On the bottom is a tropical fish that is referred to as a guppy. You'll see them at most pet stores. It's a fancy guppy. Fancy guppies have had genetic drift done to them where they have bred the color and the long fins into the genetic line. So they're from different regions, and so they would not naturally interact. So if you put a fancy guppy in the pond, which I experimented with, what happens is the mosquito eaters will kill the guppies, the fancy guppies, right off, like seconds with them being dropped into the pond, they were wiped out. So the next thing that I did is, in order to try to get them to breed, is I took small females, young females. I put them in with adult male fancy guppies. When the females grew up, they were used to the fancy guppies, did not attack them. They allowed them to breed, and they crossbred their genetic traits. Now, the reason I was doing this is I was trying to make a mosquito eater with the quality and colors of the guppy and have the hardy and the ability to survive the cold and the heat that the mosquito eaters have. Now, these experiments did not produce hybrids that were strong enough to survive the cold. They can handle the heat, and they did fine, but when winter comes, they would die off, I had found out. So, and I also found that when I was mixing them, the two different species, that I would get a lot more deformities than I would normally get with my colonies from mixing the two races, I guess is how I'm going to say it, the two different species, because they're different kinds. So because they're this, when the Bible talks about the kinds, it's talking about genetic drift. And when one species goes into another area and no longer is breeding with it will make slow changes because the environment, eventually they will not be able to breed with their own kind anymore. So these two species are close enough they can breed, but there's limitations to what the children, like they're not going to live as long, they're not as strong as the parent, etc., etc.
Every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the 5th day. And God said, Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, Let us make man in our image.
So I think this is probably the most important thing that's going to be the Trinity. So if you want to discuss something with Jehovah's Witnesses, their doctrine is completely different than the Trinity. And the Trinity is spoken right here, right now. Because remember, it says that man is made in our image. Let's look at that. So if you go to their own Bible and you look up Genesis 1 through 1:26, you'll see, let us make man in our image. Because God is speaking, and God is saying in plural form, our image. That is Jehovah, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, because they're one and the same, in our image. Remember, Satan, angels, all those creatures are not made in God's image. Man is unique. The Bible clearly states that we're made in God's image. That's why angels were jealous of man. That's why angels lusted for women, because they are all made in God's image. Really important. Think about that.
After our likeness. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat.
So I think it's an important differential that we understand that the word meat doesn't mean meat like we know as animal product. It just means food in the ancient language and tongue.
and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the 6th day.